Welcome to Chasing the Beats, a show dedicated to weeklybeats.com artists, their songs and stories from the 2024 season and beyond. I'm your host, SQF, and our guest today, Disposable Planet. All right, welcome to Disposable Planet. Thanks for joining, man.
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah, so I was digging into your music and of course being an M8 fan, and sorry everyone, there's going to be lots of M8 content in this episode.
A lot of them.
So if you don't like the M8, tune out now. But I think there's also some really cool just music stuff to be learned in here. And yeah, there's some tie-ins with some books and some break beats and some awesome slidey melodies. So kind of to jump into it, you did Weekly Beats 2022 and 2024.
Yes.
And listening to your songs and admiring your composition and just arrangement, I am curious how long you've been making music.
So I've been making music about 30 or 31 years. I picked up, my dad was a really amazing blues guitarist, not professionally, just in his spare time. But he was really great at soloing, and he gave me an old guitar of his when I was in 7th grade. And the first song I ever wrote, I was in a band called Osmium. We were three teenagers with acoustic guitars, but our science teacher, Mr. Price, said, "You guys got to name yourselves after a heavy metal band." So he suggested Osmium, which is the densest metal by volume.
Nice. That's very science teacher.
Yeah, so we named our band Osmium.
That's great.
Heavy metal. We just played like cheesy like acoustic alternative rock songs.
Nice.
No drummer. It was just 3 guitars.
Just 3 guitars.
Yeah, it was just 3 guitars. And we were all very well. My friend Kyle, he was actually he had played for a while. He was very good, but I was pretty bad. I was just starting out. But the first song I wrote was called Applesauce. And it was 3 chords, and it was about crushing apples under your garage door to make applesauce. And that was my foray into music. And it was kind of like a punky song. And after that, I was in a hardcore punk band in high school called Juvenocracy.
Nice.
Which we had to change the name because there turned out to be another Juvenocracy out there that was way more famous. So,
oh wow, all right,
yeah, that's a good band name. It wasn't my idea. It was the frontman Eugene's idea, Juvenocracy, and we played like 2 shows. We were terrible, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And I remember I played bass in that band, but with a pick, just terrible bass, and I didn't really get into guitar until my senior year of high school, where I started listening to a lot more music. Basically, I was really into punk rock up until about junior year of high school, where after some mescaline and an older brother, my best friend's older brother, showing me the Beatles anthology, I got into like every kind of music ever.
Nice.
So it was like my musical awakening, and I started taking guitar more seriously. And
even though your dad had played guitar, you didn't get into it until.
No, I didn't. I mean, I'd always like I grew up around music. Like my mom played the piano really well, and my dad played phenomenal blues guitar. He would jam with all the people in the neighborhood, and he'd always get kicked out of bands because he was so good. He was really phenomenal. Like, but I didn't really start taking music seriously until senior year in high school, when I started listening to a lot of old 60s rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I just connected with something in the 60s counterculture. There was kind of almost at the time, like an echo of that in the 90s counterculture. I feel there was like a freedom that was kind of mutually expressed in the 60s and the late 90s.
Yeah.
In the 90s, it kind of took the form almost as like the rise of the internet, and people thought the internet was the great technological savior of the time and that it was going to free all information. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and look how it turned out. Um,
We were just bullshitting in chat rooms, random chat
yeah,
rooms, talking
yeah,
to
yeah,
whoever. Yeah.
exactly. But so I got really into 60s rock and folk music, and I started teaching myself fingerstyle guitar,
Oh right.
acoustic. And I went to school in Manhattan for video and film. And I met some like-minded people there, including my friend Zevin, who's a phenomenal guitarist. And he kind of showed me some fingerstyle tricks. And after that, I got into Spanish classical guitar. And
Nice. Man, you're really traveling the world.
yeah, yeah, I've never been to Spain, but I kind of traveled
In
there.
your living room you have
Yeah,
though.
yeah, exactly. And so I got into that for a while, and I actually got pretty good. I had a lot of fun playing. My favorite composer was Francisco. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Francisco Tárrega. He composed some very famous classical guitar pieces that almost every classical guitar student knows or plays. And I got into him, and I started listening to like Segovia and Bream and all the great classical guitarists. And then I got to a point where I felt like I oversaturated myself with the repertoire, and I started wanting to make music that was my own,
Mhm.
opposed to just playing other people's songs in my repertoire.
Yeah.
So that had always been a thing that I'd always made like funny joke music on the side, but I'd never really taken the idea of making music seriously. And this was kind of like a passion of mine that was on the periphery of what I was going to do for a career because I was in video. So I started working like odd jobs, doing video production and mostly post production and production. I worked as a videographer. I worked as a video editor. I didn't really get good at those things until many years later, as it takes in any industry to
Yeah.
get your chops up.
But video needs audio.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And so I started messing around, and I kind of fell off the classical guitar a bit. And I never really came back to it. It was just like a period of my life that it kind of served its purpose. And I can still play. I still have my old nylon string, and I can still play. I haven't played guitar in a long time. I kind of like fell in love with electronic music in 2017, which is kind of
Yeah, I
late on the page. I was 35 when I started making chip tunes. Um,
nice.
which is kind of late in the game, because I had always like dabbled in like using computer programs to make like some joke music here and there. But my introduction to chiptune came in the early 2000s when my friend sent me a link to the 8-Bit People's website, and I was just all over it. I loved the nostalgia. I loved the what people were doing, and I tried to recreate that on a 4-track with an old Dr. Rhythm Boss drum machine.
I have that drum machine.
It's like old. It's. I want to sample it. It's got the cheesiest samples. And,
It's cheesy, and I remember so I took guitar lessons in high school, and uh you know, back then there weren't a lot of computer programs. This was like, mid 90s. My guitar teacher was like, "You should get this drum machine." And I was like, it was always so terrible to program that
oh
I
God, it was
never
so hard.
used.
Yeah,
Like, I just had a different, I guess, vision of what programming drum sequences was, so I didn't really use it. But in a similar vein to you, I also went through this like, technical guitar phase. Um, and a bunch of finger picking stuff, and then kind of just like dropped guitar for a while, and then realized like, oh, I actually enjoy making music, and I can make music with all these other MIDI based toys now.
yeah, yeah. It's I found getting introduced to, because I'd listened to chiptune for over 15 years before I actually started making it. What happened was I was looking on eBay for Game Boys, and I saw one with LSDJ 3 point something cartridge, like the old blue cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know it didn't have a very good battery in it, but I ordered this piece of shit Game Boy with like it had a biverted screen, but it wasn't biverted. Like they didn't flip the polarizer, so it was just like impossible to see. And I got it for like $100 with an LSDJ cartridge, and I ordered it in the mail. And I was like, whatever, I'm going to try my hand at this. And
Yeah.
when it was being shipped, I started messing around in an emulator on my computer, and it arrived, and I started screwing around with it. I just fell in love with the LSDJ workflow of making music that way, and I made my first chiptune album, which sounds very different from my current stuff. It's very, very uh, it's just it kind of sucks, but people actually like it better than my newer stuff. So I
I
don't know.
mean, I think we all hope to listen back to our older stuff and be like, I have improved.
Yeah, definitely. And I made an album in 2017 when I was living in a town called Dumont, which is a couple towns away from where I live. I've lived in New Jersey my whole life.
Got it.
I always commuted to the city for work. But I made an album called Apartment 16 because I was living in the 16th apartment in my it was like these garden apartments. And so I made this album, and it's very energetic. It's a little punky, and I just fell in love with the LSDJ workflow. And I kind of like put it down because I got real busy with work shortly in the years before the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and I picked it back up in 2000. I mean, I messed around with it for the next couple of years, kind of like dabbling, but I picked it back up in the fall of 2019 and made my second LSDJ album. And then the pandemic happened, and I suddenly had all this time on my hands because all the stuff at work got canceled. I used to work for a
Yeah.
production company in Midtown.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we did mostly live events and fashion and sports and stuff. So everything got canceled. So everything became remote. And at the time, my parents both they both got diagnosed with cancer, and so I
Nah, man.
went to live with them and take care of them for the next couple of years. And I had all this free time on my hands, so I was just making LSDJ songs. And my friend, Defense Mechanism, Aaron, who is from Indianapolis, amazing chiptune artist, by the way, very melodic and an influence of mine too.
Mm.
He sent me a link. He's like, you got to check this new device out that I'm beta testing, or that I got not beta testing. He actually got a pre-beta model, so I guess an alpha unit. And he's like, you got to check this out. And he sent me a link to the Dirty Wave Discord, and I joined.
Yeah.
This was about a week before the beta units went out. And Tim, or Trash 80, posted a thing saying we have a few blemished units. Um, uh, so first come, first serve, and I jumped on the chance because I saw it had the same LSDJ workflow.
Yeah.
Basically based on LSDJ, only with more possibilities and permutations with all the myriad effects commands. And so I ended up signing up for the beta testing and getting the beta unit like a week after I joined the Discord. They all went out, and I just managed out of like a complete accident to
Yeah.
in that first wave of the M8 craze. And I yeah, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole musical life.
That's
It was
amazing.
yeah, it was just and it really saved me during the pandemic because those were some dark times, and I had this outlet that I discovered, and honestly, like I feel like through the M8, I found my voice in the end, which
That's
is
amazing.
which is like, I guess I'm kind of a late bloomer because that happened when I was like in my 30s, but
Yeah.
better late than ever. And
Oh, 100%. I
yeah,
mean, I'm in my 40s and I'm like, I'm skipped a good chunk of my life where I wasn't really making any music. But I think maybe, like other hobbies or free time pursuits, sometimes it's got to come back around for you to really appreciate it.
yeah,
And things have just changed so much. Like, I'm not recording on a 4 track anymore, and the DAW opportunities are endless, but I'm still really drawn to the non-computer music making scene.
yeah, yeah. Me too. I haven't played guitar in a long time, and I definitely it's something I want to get back into when I have some more time. But it's something I've kind of been putting off because I'm like, oh, I must be absolutely terrible at it now. 'Cause I haven't.
Yeah, I'm trying to play more, and I've just sort of resigned to the fact that, like, I'm never going to be as good as I was, but I also feel like guitar kind of serves a different purpose now. Like, it's for me to add some licks or like sample a couple different things in. I'm not really performing. If I needed to perform, I could get ready for performance.
Yeah,
But, I think talking more about like these like technical guitar pursuits, I think maybe there was some bit of like ego then of like, oh, look how good I am at this thing. And now I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I don't care. Like, I just want to make music however
yeah.
possible.
I hear that. When I was learning classical guitar at first, when I first started out, like I felt like I had to play as fast as possible, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
kind of like develop. I think that happens with every guitarist in every field,
Hmm.
like unless you're playing like ambient. And I think that like once that wears off, you kind of like graduate to this, or you level up, and you get to this point where you start to appreciate um, like the uh, you start to appreciate a slow song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't have to be completely amazed by your finger skills to enjoy this
Exactly.
song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's like this technical fascination and obsession that I feel like started when I first started out, and then it just kind of wore off, and I got to the
Yeah.
point where I was just enjoying the music.
Yeah,
And
I used to listen to, Steve Vai and Joe
oh
Satriani and
yeah,
try to
yeah.
play all those songs and like try
Well,
to do
hey,
every Metallica solo.
if you've got it, flaunt it. I mean, Jimi Hendrix is a huge influence of mine.
Oh yeah.
And I like to put a lot of solos in my music. So I guess I do it just because it's a fun exercise on the M8. Like I find the process of making a solo on the M8 or on LSDJ, because I do that in a little bit. My M8 music is a little more intrepid in sound design than my LSDJ music.
Yeah.
I don't really go for like a like a like an electronic music sound with my LSDJ music. It's more traditional chip tune, but I definitely incorporate electronic music elements. But with M8, I um, I tend to venture more into like genres like drum and bass and jungle and like house, and I'll do jazz stuff, and I'll do like kind of like rock music. I made a list of my biggest influences. Maybe now is a good time to,
Yeah, go for it.
yeah. So I actually don't listen to a lot of electronic music generally. My biggest electronic influences are probably Aphex Twin and Square Pusher, who I'm constantly floored by listening to their music, especially their stuff when they were just starting out.
Mhm.
But most of the music I listen to a lot of 60s rock. I listen to a lot of folk music. My biggest influence is what I wrote here, Nick Drake, who is just phenomenal. I could listen to his music all day. Is probably one of my favorite artists. And Joanna Newsom, who's a harp player with a beautiful voice. She's part of the new weird folk movement that she kind of came on the scene in 2004 with an album called The Milk Eyed Mender, which is one of my classic all time favorite albums. And she's since done longer pieces, and she has the capacity to write 7-minute songs with like poetic lyrics and memorize them
Wow.
all. She's just like a force of nature. And I really like folk music, especially newer and like folk artists that are timeless, because I find like Nick Drake's music to be absolutely timeless. You listen to it and you're like, this was written in the 70s. If it
Yeah.
doesn't have like a horn arrangement that blares, this is from the 70s at you. If it's just him and his guitar, you're like, wow, this could have been written yesterday, you know?
And is that what you like about it? That it's like
Yeah, it
just
just
like stripped down raw
absolutely.
music.
Yeah, it's just I think the most beautiful, in my opinion, the music that resonates the most with me is when it's just a single voice and a single instrument.
Yeah.
Like like you're in like a minstrel's
Yeah.
presence in the medieval ages or something.
A
It's
very
yeah,
pure human
yeah,
experience.
it's completely raw. And I'm not saying the M8 is like that, but in a way, it kind of is because it's just a single instrument with with a single person behind it.
Right.
And you get there's something to be said about playing in a band where you have that those multiple voices coming together, where
Hmm.
everybody contributes a different kind of flavor to the whole, and so the holistic picture of the music is informed by many people's different influences and everything. But there's also something to be said about the opposite of that with modern electronic music and DAWs and groove boxes, where one person is responsible for all the elements in the song. That person needs to come up with develop like skills that kind of it's like they're playing the whole band. And
Yeah. It's more like a composer in a
yeah,
way.
it's exactly, yeah, it's like a composer. And I just find that that also has its merits, and that kind of like is why I love the M8, and it's also why I love folk music, because it's just one person and one idea, and they're just expressing it in like this kind of like creative solitude or whatever.
Yeah.
Another big influence of mine is Fish. I love the band Fish. As particularly Trey Anastasio's guitar playing, that like influenced my music a lot. I actually, I must have seen that band like 20 times between 1990
Nice.
and 2004. I haven't seen them in a while. I know they're still touring.
Oh yeah. I live in Colorado, so they're
Oh,
always
so they
coming
play
through
Red
here.
Rocks there. Yeah,
Red Rocks,
yeah,
Fish
yeah,
Dicks.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Another big influence is Devo. I love their synth sound, that just like post punky synth goodness, that like 80s retro future, kind of like satire. I'm really into punk music. I like my favorite punk bands are probably Operation Ivy and the Dead Kennedys. Operation Ivy for their raw power, and the Dead Kennedys for their political satire and their arrangements. I find that the Dead Kennedys are like a level above your average punk band, because they actually were like, what would happen if we took a punk song and introduced like actual instrumentation into it? You know what I mean? Like you've got Issa
Yeah.
Rae's guitar playing, which is like they're like composing like pieces. You know what I mean? And it's a little different from like a. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's just a little different from your average punk band, which is just trying to capture the raw force of performance. It's like those compositions are a little more thought out. I love Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing. He's probably my favorite electric
I
guitarist.
love some
Yeah,
Jimi Hendrix.
yeah,
And I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Jello Biafra
yeah.
from
Jello
the
Biafra.
he
Yeah.
lives in Denver and he's got another band that I've seen here locally. And
Oh,
they're good.
what are they called?
What is the name of that band? Let's see.
Yeah, his political satire is great. I developed a good part of my sense of humor by listening to Dead Kennedy's tapes when I was walking through the corridors of my high school.
I'll have to look up that album. I can't find it right
Yeah,
off the bat. Um, yeah, I mean, you've got a wide variety of influences, and I can definitely pick out the guitar solo influence in a lot of your inmate stuff. Like lots of bends, and I don't know, just like it's got that guitar style to it.
yeah. There's a couple tricks I do to try to recreate, not like explicitly recreate an electric guitar sound, but to recreate the feel of a solo that's happening on an electric guitar because I can solo okay. So I'm like kind of like living my dream
But
of
you
doing.
know, like where to go.
Yeah, yeah. I can solo okay like on an actual guitar, like sort of okay.
Mhm.
I'm like living my dream of being an amazing soloist through my
Yeah.
music where I'm not limited by my fingers
Yeah.
like fat and silly, like so there's a couple tricks actually. Maybe so one thing I'll do a lot is I'll start I'll use a table um on an instrument, on a lead instrument, and I'll transpose the first tick to be up an octave. And then I'll hop it to the second tick, which is back to the regular note. So it plays one tick of a high
Mm.
frequency thing at the beginning of every note. And then in phrase, I'll have for like a long note run, I'll alternate the instrument triggering um, so that the instrument triggers every other note. And it recreates that feeling of it's actually being flat picked on a guitar.
Ah, that is
Like,
sweet.
yeah. And another thing you can do is for any intrepid M8 enthusiasts out there, um, you can pitch bend very slightly, or you can drop the pitch of a note at the end of a long drawn out note, and it kind of recreates the feeling of like an instrumentalist, like a violinist or a guitarist, like moving their hand on the fret.
Yeah.
Another trick is to you can because when you sometimes like when I'm doing like a pulse width modulated lead, sometimes I'll start the vibrato right as the note starts, but it helps to kind of like add it gradually and then reduce it. So it kind of mimics the feel of like an instrumentalist actually adding vibrato on a string instrument, like where their finger will wiggle
Yeah.
like harder as the note goes on and then stop a little bit.
Yeah, in
There's
my last episode with Ipa Ghost, she said something that has stuck with me, that it's the sound doesn't have to be perfect, but if you play the sound like a particular instrument, then it's believable. So,
yeah,
like,
definitely.
if the violin sound doesn't have to be perfect, but if you play it or program it essentially like a violin, it's like, "Oh, that's a violin." So exactly what you're saying of, like, emulating, interacting with real instruments in these digital realms.
Yeah, yeah, totally. What was I going to say? You that gave me a thought. It just escaped me. I think, uh, yeah, it's weird because like in electronic music, you can do things that you can't do with an instrument, but at the same time, an instrument's like expressiveness remains the gold standard for
Yes.
like how we expect music to be delivered to us, which you can defy those expectations absolutely, but it's almost like in film and video, how film is the gold standard for what digital video is supposed to look like.
Right.
Everyone's trying to make video look like film. They're not trying to do the opposite unless they're, shooting on a TV or something. So
Yeah.
it's I guess it's kind of similar in that regard. Like um,
It's like the imperfections are what we expect.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
Yeah, because like your a lot of your M8 stuff does have lots of movement. I was going to ask you about your LFO work because it like the notes, even these long notes that you hold, are breathing and moving. And when I listen to that, I'm like, oh yeah, like I need to do more of that in my M8 stuff to like just give these notes life. And I'd never really considered until recent conversations that this all just comes back to making it feel human, like you
yeah,
said, of like moving, you know, making it feel like you're sliding down to a note with your finger.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And uh, as far as my LFO work, sometimes I'll just add a lot of subtle LFOs. For example, it helps on a lead melody to add a LFO on the M8 that's set to either sine or triangle in the waveform, and then free. Uh, and sorry, I'm getting notifications.
Oh, you're
Um,
good.
I forgot to turn those off. So it helps to set an LFO to volume, and then have it, instead of setting up an envelope, you set the LFO to sine or free, sine or triangle, and then have it uh, vary the volume of the lead just ever so slightly. And so it kind of mimics like a guitar solo swelling in volume and
Yeah.
seeding in volume. And you can kind of play with the frequency of the LFO to get it to trigger at certain points, or you can even use the commands and phrase to reset the LFO frequency on, especially when it's set to free. And I'll sometimes do that with pan as well. I'll like reserve two LFOs for pan and volume, just to add like a little bit of dynamic,
Yeah.
like a little dynamic quality to the stereo spread, and to the volume of the piece, and or the volume of the lead. And another thing I do when I'm trying to recreate like a lead sound, especially if I'm working with either pulse width modulation, which I use a lot, I kind of abuse it because I'm always going for a demo scene sound, kind of like
Hmm.
my electronic music on the M8. Not like trying to recreate demo scene music, but just kind of like harkening back to that.
The vibe.
Yeah, the vibe. Yeah, exactly. And so something I'll do is I'll add, if I'm using the wave synth to make a pulse width modulated patch, I'll obviously have one LFO set to warp to create the pulse width modulation, but then I'll add just a little bit of the multiplier, the mult parameter.
Hmm.
Add that with a very small value, because so it sounds like it just adds this little bit of like attack to the lead, and it gives it like some character that makes it sound a little more like a electric guitar. Although I'm not explicitly trying to recreate the sound of electric guitar. So
Yeah, but you're trying to bring in those elements that make it sound really cool.
yeah, exactly. And so I'll use a lot of like subtle LFOs. Sometimes I'll put a volume envelope with a very long decay. I rarely use the four setting envelope. I usually use the attack hold decay. And unless I'm doing an ambient thing where I need to put note offs in
Hmm.
phrase to kind of like have these long drawn out pads. But for leads, I'll often I'll have them ring out, even though they sound like they're being held. I'll have them ring out ever so slowly, so there's a little bit of volume, like a little bit of dynamic volume
Yeah.
to the note. And one of the tricks is kind of like you can you can mix and match sections of long notes and short notes, especially when I'm working on a solo. Like, because solos are all about, and this is not me. This is straight out of a workshop from Trey Anastasio, the lead guitarist in Fish. He said the best thing you can do in a solo is build tension and then release the tension.
Hmm.
Build more tension, then release the tension again. So it's all about like building up these plateaus and then kind of like delivering like some ear candy to the audience, and then building up a plateau with some dissonance and delivering more ear candy to the audience.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can combine like long drawn out notes that hit on the chords with long passages that sometimes even vary out of the steps, and you can one thing. So maybe I should get into how I actually do the melodies on the M8, because
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm kind of curious about just your philosophy when or maybe another word for system is or formula, but I don't necessarily think everything is a complete formula. But we have these things that we go to, especially on the M8, of like kind of how I work is I'll maybe start out with a rhythm or a bass line or something, and then just keep like adding experiments to it. And then I have enough experiments where I'm like, okay, I can slap these two together and now it's a cohesive thing. But I'm always curious how other people start and build a song to completion.
So I start on M8 at least. I do it a little differently on LSDJ, but on M8 I usually start with the chords. One thing I like to do is I like to use Impbox's single channel FM chord trick
Oh yeah, yeah.
to play multiple voices in a single FM pad channel. And I have a whole instrument pack you can find in the resources
Oh, sweet.
channel of the Dirty Wave Discord that has it's got like 400 instruments in it, and some of them are FM chord pads. Some of them are regular FM chords. I mean, some of them are regular FM pads, but a few of them are separated from the rest, and they're pads that are designed to work with Impox's FM single channel FM chord trick. So I'll set
Nice.
up the modulators in phrase, or I think it's mod 1, mod 2, mod 3, to have they're all set to pitch in his trick and or in their trick, and I'll I'll usually do the chord movement with those commands in phrase. So I'll play the chord on the first step, and then I'll do all my chord changes with the commands,
Ah, sweet, sweet.
and I'll
Yeah.
build like an interesting chord progression. It takes a while, but sometimes
Yeah.
I'll just do that, and then once I have a chord progression, I'll add drums and a bass and
Nice.
elements one at a time, kind of like what you were saying. And once I have like a decent like backbone to the track, then that's when like the fun begins, and I'll just like put it on loop on the M8 either with headphones or on my monitors, and I'll just kind of like jam out in my head, just kind of like because I don't like approach music where I have a fully formed thing in my head beforehand.
Oh, me either.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
need to create like a
I wish I could
background
be like, this is what I'm going to create.
instead of
And
like wake up from a dream and I'm like I have this song, like but
no, I got to really work for this shit.
yeah, me too. Yeah, but so I'll make a backbone and then I'll just jam out kind of like in my head and just try to transcribe what I'm hearing in terms of a melody or a harmony or a solo, whatever I'm working on, whatever part of the song. I'll be just kind of like trying to get whatever's in my head out onto into the M8 phrase, and I find that like I'll make a lot of mistakes, but those mistakes are like these happy mistakes that
You're like,
kind of
oh, that's not what I intended, but I like that.
exactly, yeah, and I find like that improvisational method on the M8, like it's like half from you're trying to capture what's in your head, and half you're making mistakes and you're kind of improvising on the fly as you're entering the data in or as you're sequencing into the M8
Yeah.
phrase. And I find like that combination is like it's almost like a kind of meditation for me.
Yeah.
It's like when you meditate, you're trying to like let the thoughts pass through your head, and you're just letting them kind of like form, and um, you're just kind of like grabbing them out of the ether, and like the mistakes you make or that I make when I'm inputting that stuff that I hear um, into the M8 phrase is basically like that informs the direction of the song.
Got it.
Those mistakes and accidents, like happy accidents, I guess is the term.
So
And
what do you do for like a B part or a chorus or a bridge or
well, so rarely I'll make a backbone to the song fully formed. So usually I'll come up with like one section of the song, and then that'll inform where to go next.
got it?
And sometimes I'll like I
Is it just like another like let me build another chord progression and see if it fits with this one?
sometimes I'll like change the chord progression I have a little bit, or I'll go
Yeah.
to another key, or I switch. I kind of abuse this a lot. I switch between major and minor a lot. Um,
I like taking a chain and then just like randomly changing the transpose on what I already have to see
oh,
if
cool.
like,
That's a good.
oh, like, yeah, I actually like that. And then yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, I do a lot of deep cloning with my melodies once they're formed, and I'll make variations that way. I'll just play around with different notes, different combinations, like introduce like a different passage. Like there's some like basic tricks you can do to keep a melody interesting. For example, something I use a lot is I'll repeat something 3 times and then change it up on the fourth time if
Yeah.
I'm working with a four. If I'm working with a 4 phrase chain, if I'm working with an 8 phrase chain, I sometimes I'll have something repeat twice, and then I'll go in a different direction for the next 2 phrases, and then I'll have it repeat twice, and then I'll go into a completely different direction to kind of like bring it to a cadence or like
Yeah.
cadence. And so one of the things that I would one of the things that I would do is after I build like a loop or like a section, like let's say the A section, or maybe it'll become the B section later. Who
Yeah.
knows, you know? Um,
It's right. You never
yeah,
know
yeah,
until you
yeah,
get all the pieces together.
exactly, exactly. I'll try to make a chord combination that complements it. I heard someone say something really good about making a chorus. I don't know if it was who's that music that really famous music's influencer, Andrew Huang.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, he said something like where making a chorus is you're making something the same but different. It sounds like stupid advice, but it's actually
Like,
quite
thanks, bro.
quite astute. Like it's you're basically like you're changing some things and then you're leaving some things the same. Whether it's the sound design, you could change the sound design from chorus to verse.
True.
And I work a lot in like a verse chorus bridge structure, but sometimes I'll deviate from that. But I find that like traditional songwriting techniques work a lot in the kind of electronic music that I want to make, even though I feel like melody is maybe not the strongest suit of modern electronic music. A lot of it is focused on rhythm, which is
Mhm.
totally cool. Like you can do rhythmic things with electronic music that you can't do in real life.
Yeah.
But, I just come at it from more of a melodic perspective. And
Yeah.
so I'm using a lot of traditional songwriting techniques, like I'll use like an A part, B part, C part, or a verse, chorus, bridge. And sometimes I'll just double that and just have like too many sections in my song. But sometimes that takes me to places that I'm very grateful it took me because
Right.
I'll come up with something like a bass solo that I'll throw in that I'll be like, wow, where was that hiding? You know? Yeah,
And, traditional song structure is a nice thing to, uh, use because it's a thing that you don't really have to think about.
yeah, exactly. It's like a guide.
Yeah. And I was kind of curious as well, because you mentioned at the top of the show, looking back at your or listening back, I guess, at your earlier LSDJ stuff, what do you notice the most about your music now?
The sound design is way better.
Yeah.
First of all, like the sound design is, I got because I started off making like ambient music on Logic Pro in 2016. I was just making ambient music because um, I needed something to because I was commuting on the bus to work a lot, and I get a little claustrophobic on the bus. And so I wanted something that was very repetitive. And I was listening to like a lot of ambient music at the time. And I was like, maybe I can make some of this. And so I made a bunch of ambient albums. And that taught me a lot about harmony because they were more melodic and harmonic ambient albums, not
Mhm.
necessarily like field recording type ambient or just like ambient sound washes or
Yeah.
soundscapes or something. They had some kind of structure to them. I find that like it's I always put some kind of structure in my music. That's just the way I'm wired. That's not better or worse than any other method. It's just the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
And so uh, I I I started with just working with everything but beats, and then I basically just introduced the beats. And I found that like after I started getting into the M8, I just learned a lot more about sound design, sculpting the and mixing, and sculpting all the sounds on the M8, because before we had EQs on the M8, you were limited to the filter that you had to put on it. So you could put a high pass, a low pass, and some various other filters, and you basically had to sculpt the sound. Unless you were exporting stems, which I rarely ever do.
No,
Um,
but I agree with you. The M8 really helped me learn a lot of sound design stuff. And I didn't really think about the fact that EQ not being available maybe helped me learn sound design more, because if you want to change the sound outside of the filter, you got to start tweaking some other parameters, and
yeah, exactly.
then and I think there's something special about just listening to it on a loop and being able to change the parameters on the fly, which I know is not unique to digital music making stuff, but you like you mentioned, you kind of get like in the zone, and
Yeah, yeah,
like hearing it on a loop so much, you kind of are able to like perfect that sound design.
yeah, absolutely. And so that taught me a lot about mixing. I think that's like
Hmm.
when people come to the M8, it forces you to really analyze the bare bones of your music in that regard. Like, are these frequencies working with these
Right.
frequencies?
And it's more approachable mixing, I think, because it's more like I added this other thing and now I can't hear this melody line
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I put. So it's
Well, that's the great thing
it's
about the M8 is that you can put stuff in the same channel and have it not play over each other, just
right.
out of sheer trying to save
But
frame.
if you want them playing together, then you're learning about how to give space to each of these instruments,
Yeah, yeah,
instead of approaching it from a like I'm trying to cut these certain frequencies, which I think a
yeah.
lot of people start mixing that way, and it feels way too technical from that direction.
Well, you're also limited to eight channels, so I think that
Hmm.
helps too. That
Yeah,
helps to have it simplified, because in that limitation,
I
uh,
think it's a great limitation.
yeah, it really is. I think one of the members of the M8 Discord said you only need four. Eight is a blessing, or something like that. Like you only need four because you could do the with the LSDJ,
I
but like
mean, I'm
eight,
happy with
that's
8.
the perfect amount. That's the perfect amount.
Yeah,
And
it's the perfect amount, and every once in a while, if I need more, it's just because I'm like, I need to fold down some drum tracks because I wanted some extra percussion.
yeah, when it comes to arrangements, if so, someone asked me, basically, like I think it was Avracadabra. They 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 had an observation about one arrangement I had made, and they were like, when you listen to each of the tracks separately, they make no sense, but when you put them together, they make sense. And so, if I had to like describe my music, I would probably say a lot of simple things happening congruently. It's
I
just
like
like
that.
it's like I don't really with the exception of maybe some solos or bass solos, I don't really get too. I'm not really using more than one or two FX commands for any given at any given time. I don't have tables chock full of like dense commands, except
Yeah,
for when I'm doing something like a wavetable or trying to like recreate like the sound of a changing oscillator, and I have a table
yeah,
set up to like switch oscillators or something. Um, but like as far basically I'll just build it a piece at a time, and I'll try to like let everything have its space in the mix. But more importantly, I feel like it just comes down to intuition. I think like I say this about TV all the time, TV and video and film, is that like if you're writing a screenplay or if you're making a short video, just use your intuition, because most people have watched so much media in their lifetime that they innately know what works and what doesn't, even if they're filmmakers or not. They have like that intuition that'll tell them when something's not working, because people can be film critics without being filmmakers. They know when a film is not doing its job and something is inherently broken in the edit or in the production or whatever. And I feel like it's the same with music. Like people
yeah.
listen.
I mean, video is tension and release.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot
or
of
movies, really.
yeah, a lot of
Hopefully, I guess maybe the news now too. But
yeah. Well, we don't have to get into
ooh,
that.
no, no, no. Enough of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's take a drink.
no, but I think uh, a lot of it comes down to just using my intuition
Yeah,
with what is working in a mix. Sometimes I'll go a little overboard. I know some people have described my melodies as jumpy. I kind of like that quality to them. Like I like them being a little unpredictable, but at the same time, still trying to make them sound good without making them like absolutely chaotic. But
yeah. I mean, one of the songs we'll listen to, Armitage. There's definitely some chaos going on in that
oh
one.
yeah, that's about a very chaotic character from Neuromancer.
But your melodies, when you were talking about your like Trey Anastasio course, I do notice in your melodies there's like some, fast sections that move into slow to kind of like let it breathe, and then you do a lot of like hanging or like drawn out, um decreasing volume, kind of like you're letting a note ring out on a guitar.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I do a lot of I try to vary up how it's being delivered, just to echo back to what I said about Trey Anastasio's advice being well, he was talking about solos, but this can work with melodies too.
Yeah.
Uh, um, the tension and release. You're kind of like building up, and then you're paying the audience back for their patience in the build up.
Yeah.
You're kind of like it's like this exchange you have, and making like a lot of like one of the songs we'll listen to is Emergence, which is the last track off the Neuromancer album, and that one has a pretty long melody of a pulse width modulated lead, and I there's a lot of drawn out notes, and then they're permeated by these fast note runs, and just to move
Yeah.
from one section to the other. And like you can use the speed of the notes to kind of transition your sections. Like you can like make a flurry of notes to kind of like prepare the listener for a change, or
Yeah.
you can draw out a note to get them out of a section. There's a ton of different techniques you can use,
Yeah.
and like it works to you know what Bryface, who's also a member of the M8 Discord and a really fantastic chiptune artist, um, uh, gave a talk on I think it was Micromusic Italy about LSDJ, and he talked about general composition in general, and he showed a brief snippets of a PowerPoint presentation he had where he had actually drawn out the shape of the melody. Like he'd drawn it out like it was a shape, and it had like peaks and valleys. And I thought that was a really cool,
That is cool.
yeah, that's a really cool way of like representing your melody. And I guess people could do that before or while they're composing,
Yeah.
even if it's just like, even if it's just something you're doing in your head to kind of like prepare you for the next section, like a crescendo or a
Mhm.
diminuendo. All those like old music techniques, they translate to electronic music if you're working with melodies and harmonies.
Awesome. I mean, I'll have to check that out. You said that was Bryface?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen like the full presentation. He just showed a few
Okay,
slides of
cool.
it, but
All right.
he was talking about drawing out your melodies, which I thought was a cool technique.
Nice. Well, should we listen to some music now?
Sure.
All right.
What's
We've got
first?
a pile of songs here. Should we start with let's see. Chiptune? Should we do isn't it Highway 4 or Highway 5?
Highway 5 is a good place to start. It's chill.
Cool. All right, let's start with Highway 5. This is 2022 week 8, Highway 5. All right, here we go. All right, that was Highway 5. Those lead melodies really stick out to me. Just so much heart and soul in these, digital melodies.
Thanks. Yeah, I like to use the M8 to make expressive melodies, like we were talking about before, to not to emulate an instrument, but just to like capture the
It's
thing.
alive.
Yeah, yeah, to make it feel like it's like living and breathing. But I think with this, I don't know where this song came from. As far as like, I was very happy with it when it came out, and it's I think it's one of my brother's favorite songs of mine. He really likes it, and which means a lot to me. Um, as far as the melodies go, some of the techniques I talked about earlier, one thing I used a lot in this song was I'll stop a melody with a kill command right before another phrase. So it sounds like the hand lifted, or like the idea is done and it finalized with like a period,
Yeah.
and then I'll go into another phrase, and it helps to have just that little like beat of silence between phrases sometimes, and that's used in chiptune a lot. That's not original or anything.
And did these techniques start with chiptune?
I mean, I honestly, I
Like, for
think
you? For
I
you.
don't know like where any of them came from. So I'm assuming it's just like tips and tricks I've picked up by looking at tutorials over the years and just messing around on the M8
Yeah.
and kind of like finding through trial and error. And it's just like I've accrued a bunch of like techniques that I go back to a lot, but I'm always on the lookout for new ones. One thing I did with this song is that I have on tracks on channels 2, 3, and 4. I have a pseudo delay happening that I use a lot in my music. I'll do it as like a creative imposition on a track. I'll take up three of the channels with a kind of like, it'll be a triplet delayed, with pan commands on the in table to create a ping pong effect. I could just do it in one channel and up the delay and set the delay to ping pong. But I spread it across three channels to kind of like be like, okay, now I only have five channels left. How am I going to fit a song into this? And it's
Oh,
fun because what you do is here, I have my M8 right here. Let me just, I think I have the song queued up. I need just,
so are those 3 channels playing any instruments? Or
yeah, they are. Okay, so this is Highway 5. On channels 2, 3, and 4, I have the same pattern playing, the same phrase or the same chain playing on all three channels. It's just
oh.
when I start it, I have on channel 2 it starts right away. On channel 3, there's an extra phrase in the first chain that
Oh,
delays it.
you're like tape doubling, essentially.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I decrease the volume of channel 3 and 4, and then I offset it by either 6 or 3 um, 16th notes. So
Yeah.
I basically put a hop command in an empty phrase. So on channel 3, it's the second time it plays, it's playing delayed by 6 steps, and then in the next one it's delayed by 12 steps, um, or
That's
something like
cool.
that. I don't know if I'm reading that right. I'm just kind
How
of like,
did you arrive at this technique?
I saw some pseudo delays in like old demo scene stuff. Like I think Format uses it a lot in when you had to, because you had no way of delaying
Right.
you had no way of adding a delay effect. And I just thought it was a cool technique, and so I kind of picked it up and tried doing it. I think this was the first track I actually did it with, and it's great because what you can do is you can play the pattern back from the top. The only problem is you can't start the song in the middle, so live mode goes out of the window
Yeah.
because the channels are playing at different times, so the playheads move a little delayed.
Yeah.
So you're kind of
They get out of
getting the
sync
delay. Yeah.
eventually.
But if you play it from the top, just isolated by itself, you can change the pattern in the first phrase and in the first channel, and it'll affect the other channels. So you can kind of jam around and come up with cool delayed melodies that way. And you can just have it on repeat. You can set it to repeat, and it'll just you can just keep jamming until you to make a really nice delayed melody. And it works as
That's
both an
cool.
accompaniment. Sometimes it works as a melody. Sometimes it can like work almost as like a counterpoint to another melody that comes in. And it's good because it takes up three channels, which limits the rest of your song. So then I have hats and percussion on the eighth channel. I have kick and snare on the seventh channel, bass on the sixth channel, the lead melody on the fifth channel, and then the FM chord trick of inboxes
Wow.
on the first channel. So I have all the eight channels taken up, but three of them are this pseudo delay that just kind of like takes up space and forces you to be creative. So it's like a trick I use when I'm having trouble coming up with stuff. I'll just be like, okay, time to use a pseudo delay, and
Got it.
it's like not a formula, but it's more like a go to that I use to kind of like get myself. Sometimes I'll either start with the chords and then add a pseudo delay on top of it. Sometimes I'll start with the pseudo delay and then build the chords around it. And it's just a really fast way to come up with like to jam out a really cool um, like echoey ping pongy melody for a song. And you can play around with the increments that the hop commands are set to. So it doesn't have
To
to be
like get different patterns, essentially.
yeah, it doesn't have to be delayed by triplets. It can be delayed or by 3/16 notes. I guess that would make it a half note triplet. I don't know. Off the top.
And those pseudo delay tracks are playing a version of one of your other five tracks,
Um,
or
no, no,
is
no.
it's its own melody?
It's like its own independent thing.
Oh, okay, got it,
I
got it.
think I have on this. Let me see. Let me check the table on this instrument.
So you kind of have like six tracks going, but one of them is this
It's spread
delay.
across three. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I have it's a FM synth with some square waveforms and some sine waveforms, and the I use this table a lot. I have it goes pan 80, pan 7F, pan 7F, and pan 80, and it's set to tick zero, that column. And that basically ping pongs it. So or it used to on the older. Yeah, no, it still works. Um and that I just do that to it's basically like just putting it in one channel and then turning the delay up to like F0
yeah.
and setting the ping pong to go in a stereo spread. But it just like it's cool because what you can do is you can clone the other phrases where they're repeating. Instead of having the same phrase on all the channels, you can clone the other ones and change them so that when it echoes, it's a different instrument.
Oh yeah,
Or you can
yeah.
have it switch oscillators, like which I use a lot in the Neuromancer album. I'll have these delays where it's switching oscillators or it's switching the stereo location per each time it triggers, and that's something you can't do with the delay with the global delay effect.
Right, yeah.
So you can actually change you can have it repeat play once in one instrument, play the second time in another instrument that's a little tinnier, and then have it play a third time in another instrument that's maybe high passed. And you can really create you can add like an extra flavor to your
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. Because that's one of my tricks too is taking the same melody, maybe with some slight changes and just switching the instrument.
Yeah,
And this is like a way more automated way to make that happen.
yeah, I love to like switch the sound design on an instrument and then maybe vary it a little bit. I just made a track for the jungle compo that everyone was talking about in the M8 Discord.
Oh yeah, I did a jungle compo
Oh,
myself.
awesome, awesome!
Yeah, I'll have to check yours out. I haven't even gone
Like
to check
70
out
entries.
everyone's.
It's going to be the biggest jungle album. Someone was
It's gonna
saying
be
call
massive.
it
But it
Mumble
was
Jungle.
baby's first jungle compo.
Oh,
So yeah, it was fun and fun to hear a lot of your Neuromancer album stuff with these break beats now that I'm like thinking about chopping breakbeats more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I use
So
as far as that goes, I use the loop start command a lot. I don't use slice as much, although I use it in the most recent song I made. I'm more of a loop start person. I just keep my everything divisible by 8 in terms of
got it.
bars or like steps, so that it's so I can use the loop start command and just I find it's in because if I was to work with slices, I would just find myself making slices in a way that was divisible by 4 or 8 or 2 or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'm just basically, it's like I'm using the loop start command, except I'm just using it with slice, and then I can't pitch down I can't play around with the pitch of the track
Ah, true.
with slice. So I prefer to use this loop start command.
That's a
Um,
good point about the
yeah,
pitch.
but
Well, should we listen to another one?
yeah, sure, let's go.
Let's see. We just did Highway 4, right? Or did we?
We did Highway 5.
Did we
Yeah,
do Highway 5?
there's kind of a story behind that.
Should we do Highway 4 now?
Sure, this one's LSDJ.
All right. So we get to hear your chiptune mastery. 2022 week 11, Highway 4, and then no more highways. All right. right, chiptune goodness. Tell me a little bit more about this one.
So this one, I actually, uh, I'd done a bunch of M8 songs in Weekly Beats, and I wanted to mix it up. So I tried my hand at LSDJ, seeing if I could get a song done in a week. I think it was the first time I had done a song in a week with LSDJ for Weekly Beats, and um, I started with the drums on this one, and just laid down a basic like drum and bass, like kick snare, and added some hats in the noise channel. I like to add. I like to use that old LSDJ trick of adding a little bit of white noise to your kicks to kind of give them a transient. Um, and for snares, I usually use. I sometimes I'll import samples, but most of the time, I just my go-to is to use the 909 kit snare in LSDJ, the built-in stock kit snare, and then I'll layer it with an enveloped piece of noise in the noise channel. So I'll have like a double layered snare,
Nice.
and uh, I'm really proud of like the bass work that happens later in this song. The bass gets all like frenetic and crazy, and the melody came out good. It's not like a crazy like pulse width modulated lead with lots of like waveform commands and table. It's pretty much most of the time when I'm working with LSDJ, I keep the sound design pretty simple. I've been meaning to like reach beyond my comfort zone with that for maybe my next LSDJ project. But I tend to keep the sound design a lot more simple when I'm working with LSDJ. And yeah, the song just kind of came together in a couple days, and I was really happy with the result. I'm proud of some of the harmonies in it too, um, and I think it's got a good level of energy. It's actually slower than it feels. I don't remember the exact BPM on it, but it's not that fast for a drum and bass song. I've actually sometimes when I play it live, I play it back at a faster
Yeah,
beat.
it moves.
Yeah, yeah.
It keeps it going. And oh, go ahead.
I was about to say my favorite part's the ARP section in the middle of the song, where the ARPs get all like tinny and like all over the place, and like I just like that section where it gets very staccato. I think even the drums and the bass get staccato, and it goes into this like one staccato section. I'm uh, I'm very happy with that.
What keeps you going back to LSDJ, even though the M8 can do LSDJ stuff and much, much more?
Oh, it's not like I don't really see it that way as like.
And I say this as being someone that has never used LSDJ.
Oh, well, I don't see M8 as like a souped up LSDJ. I think they're both their
They're
own like
different.
entities. Yeah, it's just different. Like M8 is has a different set of creative restrictions, and it's got obviously more possibilities in terms of sound design and with the FX commands. But LSDJ is just it's just pure zen for me. It's like I keep coming back to it because I love the Game Boy sound, and I love LSDJ's workflow. It's where I first like fell in love with making chip tunes. So I keep coming back to it over the years. Although I've made a lot more M8 music in recent years than I have LSDJ.
Yeah,
But
because you mentioned that it takes you longer to make an LSDJ song.
oh no, did I say that?
Well, I construed that out of you saying it's the first one that I've made in a week.
Oh, that's just because it was the first time I tried LSDJ.
Oh, okay, got it,
Yeah,
got it,
yeah, yeah.
got it,
It actually, I mean, it would probably take me less time just because there's less channels to work with,
got it.
but and like less elements to introduce. But it really makes you think about your bare bones music and what's going into your song, and like just being limited to three note polyphony is
Hmm.
it. I have a song called Punk Rock Astronauts Never Die, where I tried to make chords with the bass and the melody and the accompaniment at the same time, like power chords.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And it came out pretty good. And I was there's something about like the crunchiness of the Game Boy that you can kind of recreate on the M8, but I find that the M8's better when you take advantage of the more like electronic music centered sound design options as opposed to trying to recreate the sound of a Game Boy on an M8. I,
Got it. Yeah.
I have transcribed a few LSDJ songs to M8. I even have a video on my YouTube channel where I compare one of my songs. I have it playing on the M8 and the Game Boy simultaneously, and I like ask the audience like, which one do you like better? And it was pretty split. Like half of them like the M8 for its cleaner sound, and half of them like the crunchy goodness of the Game Boy. And
And that's when you're trying to like get as close to the LSDJ sound on the M8.
yeah, that was one of the few times I've actually tried to like consciously recreate an LSDJ sound on the M8, and that was tricky. The pulse channels are easier. You just don't use filters, and just have them play as they are with no filter set. And the pulse channels are a little easier, but like for recreating growls on the wave channel, it's a little more complicated. I think for the particular bass sound I used, the song was Cheeseburger Avenue, and the bass sound I recreated with like some kind of complicated cutoff automation to just make it sound like it was like that short little period of looping you're allowed in the wave channel on the LSDJ, where you can set it to ping pong and have the wave synth kind of like either contract and expand really.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to recreate that. It doesn't sound exactly the same, and it doesn't matter if it does or not. But I find
Yeah.
that like when you try to recreate the Game Boy sound on an M8, you get kind of like an uncanny valley Game Boy. So it's better to just take advantage of the it's better to take advantage of the M8's capabilities in that respect. At least personally for me,
Yeah.
I don't try to like, okay, I'm going to make a NES song on the M8. I just like, this is if I feel like making a chiptune song, I'll just take advantage of what the M8 has to offer and kind of
Yeah.
like tailor the chiptune to sound kind of like it can on the M8 and nowhere else. So
Every time I've tried to I mean, this is a little different because I'm not trying to like emulate a particular sound, but anytime that I've taken a song on one device and tried to like recreate it on another one, I'm like, it just doesn't hit the same. Or maybe I've just heard the old one too long.
yeah, that's pretty much my experience as well.
All right, we're gonna keep it rolling, and one more from 2022. This is week 23, Nightfall. Here we go. right, that was Nightfall. It's got that nasty sounding bass and amazing melody work.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me a
Yeah,
little bit more about how this one came together.
so I just called up the. I wanted to make something techno-y, so I just called up on my M8 here the bass patch. It's a triple square in the macro synth with a bunch of color, a little timbre, and it's got a low pass filter and a lot of chorus. And then it's got a cutoff LFO that's set to exponential, so it's just kind of like growling, I guess, a little bit. It's got like a bite to it.
Yeah.
And, I use the pseudo delay technique again for this, just as like a starting point. And I think I started with the chords on this one. I wanted to make like an ambient kind of sounding ethereal kind of like background pad vibe to it, and then introduce like some harder drums over it. And as for the lead, let me check out the lead here. Um, uh, that is, I think it's a pulse width modulated lead with some cutoff automation and some warp on it, and it's switching oscillators a little bit just to the different pulse. So every time it triggers uh, the note, it's switching to a different pulse width. But then it's also got pulse width modulation on it, so it kind of, I guess, creates like a picked feeling, or some
Mm,
like each note is a little more distinct from the other notes than it all blending smoothly together into like a kind of like Commodore 64 style
yeah.
pulse width modulation. Um, I was happy with like the ethereal feel of the chords and everything with this one. Um, I'm This was further into weekly beats, so I'd gotten a little better. Let me shout out my trick to doing weekly beats week after week.
Let's hear it. That's what we're here for.
Okay, you do it before you go to bed on Monday. That's when you do it. You forget about Sunday. You do it before you go to bed on Monday, and you get it ready to publish. So you make Monday night before you go to bed your Sunday rush period, and then
I
if you,
see.
you feel compelled to work on it any other time during the week between that Monday and the Sunday that it's due, that's just an added bonus. That's
Got
the
it. So you try to finish the entire song on a Monday.
Not the whole song. I get like a passable thing.
Okay.
And if I have time to work on it, it'll become
I'm
something.
like every day for like an hour at least.
Yeah, it can become that if you have the time, where
Like
you
usually before
that's
bed.
all, that's all a bonus. If you have your minute ready to go
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Monday, you can breathe easy for the rest of the week, and everything else is just a bonus.
Yeah, this is why I never post on Sunday, because if it's like Friday and I don't have the majority of a song together, I'm like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
scared to shit.
yeah, yeah,
So on one side, I wish I wasn't so anxious about not finishing a song, but I also like to not have to like rush on Sunday.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear
What
that.
other tricks do you have from doing weekly beats?
Well, I've only done it 2 years, and one of those years I was
Well,
technically
I've only done it 1 year, so
okay. Well, one of the years I was technically cheating. Uh, Orange Drink said I would be in Weekly Beats jail because basically what happened was I made the whole Neuromancer album in 10 days, but all according to Weekly Beats rules. So two of the songs on it were uh, from previous works in progress that I kind of unearthed and finished in that frame of time, and then the remaining 12 songs were done in a 10-day period, but a week each. And uh, I wanted to post the whole album just 1 week in Weekly Beats, but I couldn't because of the file limit sizes.
mhm.
I asked somebody, and they're like, just post the first song and link to the rest of the album. So I did that, and then Devious suggested that I just post one of the songs every week for the next 14 weeks. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, it's cheating, but I'll do it. And so I did that. And I tried to make the descriptions interesting with the quotes from the book and everything. And so that's my 2024. The year that I was active every week was 2022. And It had to do a lot because it was like post pandemic, everything was remote. It was just
Yeah.
like there was more free time as opposed to trying to struggle to get everything done.
You got too busy in 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of segueing into Neuromancer, the next songs we're going to listen to are all going to be from 2024 Neuromancer stuff. So tell me and everyone else listening out there about Neuromancer, the book, how you got inspired to make music relative to the book.
Okay. So it's my favorite book in the whole world. I read it when I was 15 in 1996. I remember just picking it up at a bookstore with a bunch of other books. I think I got Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke and Ringworld by Larry Niven. I was starting to get into like the sci-fi canon at the time. Um, and my sixth grade English teacher, Mrs. Bester, had recommended this book to me years before, but I never checked it out. And I just saw it on the shelf, so I was like, I'll take it. And I read it that summer, and it's been my favorite book ever since. Um,
How many times have you read it now?
uh, I don't know. I have like 6 copies of it in different versions on my shelf. I must have read it at least 6 or 7 times. It's I have a copy of it right here in case we need to check the source material. I'm crazy about this book. I could talk about it for hours, but it was basically the book that put cyberpunk on the map. Cyberpunk had formed as a genre in the late 70s. It was a literary genre. I'm talking about literary cyberpunk, not necessarily
Not
movies.
Cyberpunk the game.
No, not Cyberpunk the game. That was funny. I was in a video game collectible store last year, and I was like, "Do you have anything Cyberpunk related? The genre, not the game." Yes, you started cracking up. They're like, "That's a good distinction to make."
Yes, good
I love that
distinction.
game. I love that game, but there are two different, a little different things. But anyway, yeah. So it was the first like book that really put Cyberpunk on the map, as I say in the FAQ to the album. Um, and uh, I don't want to spoil the story, but it's basically about a hacker who's down on his luck, who has lost the ability to hack because he screwed over his employers, and then they screwed him over by kind of like burning out his ability to hack in what is called the Matrix in the book, which is not related to the film The Matrix. They kind of like took it from Neuromancer and changed it into something different. But in the book, The Matrix is the future of the internet. It's like a 3D consensus hallucination where you see data as shapes and you navigate a 3D space. And it's kind of like it was like Gibson basically figured out that the internet was going to be the next big like connected protocol, and
Yeah.
and so he coined the term cyberspace in the book. Someone read it in the M8 Discord, and they said, "Wow, I'm 5 pages in, and already Gibson has created cyberspace, the Matrix, and Night City." I forget who said that, but someone who had just started reading the book said that, and like that's true. Like he coined all the phrases like jack in and cyberspace, and
And this was written in 1984.
yeah, I think it was written in. He finished it in 1983. It was published in 1984, and it won the Holy Trinity of science fiction awards that year. It won the Philip K. Dick Award, the Hugo Award, which is like the Oscar of science fiction, and the Nebula Award. And he then went on to write 2 sequels to it. It takes place in a universe called the Sprawl Universe, which is a reference to what the eastern seaboard of the United States has become in the future of the book, which is called the Sprawl. It's the Boston Atlanta metropolitan axis. It's like a huge city that runs from Boston all the way down to Atlanta, like just one endless sprawl of a giant cyberpunk
Wow.
dystopian city. And it's so the universe. There's 3 short stories in the universe that he wrote before the book, and then he wrote 2 sequels to the book, and it's his first trilogy because Gibson's always writing trilogies. He's got 4 trilogies. I think he's putting the finishing touches on his last trilogy right now.
Oh wow, he's
His
still going.
fourth trilogy. Yeah, yeah. I think he's 77. And yeah,
Wow.
he's still going. He's writing amazing work. He did his most recent trilogy is the Jackpot trilogy, which is really cool because it takes place in the near future and the far future. And the far future communicates with the near future through this time traveling internet server where it allows them to access the data of the past, but they can't affect any change unless they're doing it through the internet. It's a really
Wow.
fascinating concept. Yeah, it turned
So,
into a TV show, but it unfortunately got canceled during the writer's strike. Um,
how do you go about making songs?
Sorry to get back on track here.
Oh,
I
well,
can
like,
talk about cyberpunk for hours.
how do you adapt a book to song, especially a book that is so near and dear to you? When I think about that, I'm like, would I do this book justice? Or like, since you and I are kind of make music in similar ways of not really being able to like plan out a song from the beginning, it kind of goes where it goes. So how do you marry that like songwriting process with a book and this like huge fandom that you have for it?
Okay, so it was like a passion project that I've always thought about doing. Like I was always like, I want to make a Neuromancer themed like album, but I didn't know how to like articulate that. And the idea came to me when I was driving down to Magfest in 2024, early 2024. So about 4 months before I started making the album, I was driving down to Magfest and I was listening to some chiptune, and I was just like, you know what? It would be cool if I made a song for every main character in the book. Like, because there's more characters than are on the album. There's minor characters too, and it would be too many
Yeah.
to make songs for all of them. But I thought, okay, what about every main character? If I made a song for every main character, and I was like, so I I wrote down the list of main characters, and there were 13 of them, 14 if you count the bartender. And I thought, how can I structure this album so that it echoes um, like the dramatic arc of the book? So the book is separated into four sections plus an epilogue, and those represent like the different like phases of the heist kind of thing that happens in the book. And so the first few songs represent like the first section of the book, which is Chiba City Blues, where he's the main character is this addict stuck in Japan. And I don't want to get into every section's title, but so what I did was I tried to, I basically took like a period of 10 days, took like a musical vacation, and just was on the M8 constantly. And I would make a song, and when I was like about a third of the way into the song, I'd be like, what character does this sound?
Mm,
And then I'd pick a character that song would be about, and then I'd make the rest of the song with that character.
that's cool. So you
So
kinda got to a point where you're like, "Okay, this is a
this
s."
sounds like Julius Dean, which was the first
Yeah.
song I made. So I didn't start with the main characters; they didn't come till later. Um, and then I had some ideas. Like some of the songs were started with a character in mind, being like, okay, I want this to be like an emotional song for Molly, because she's one of the main one of the main characters in the book. Um, and I wanted to make that song a little more emotional than you would expect. So basically, when I started out, I was like, I can't make this like synth wave or modern cyberpunk music because I just feel like I don't have a grasp on those genres.
Mhm.
But the music that I was listening to in the years after I read the book, and in the like I say in the FAQ, and like the years of years of the early 2000s that I was stepping into, I was listening to a lot of like punk and drum and bass, and um, so I tried to incorporate those genres into like a mishmash, like some kind of like retro futuristic mishmash,
Yeah.
um, to kind of like express like what my idea of the retro future in the book was like. And if you ask me, like if I had to pick personally, and this is not going to be everyone's pick because some people would pick synthwave as like the music of cyberpunk, but for me it's drum and bass because that's like or like jungle drum and bass, like the first electronic music that really got popular was because the book was written to post-punk music in the early 80s. Gibson says, I think in one interview, he says it was fueled by Joy Division. So I wanted to incorporate some like post-punk bass lines, but the genre I felt like I had the best grasp of when it comes to cyberpunk was that one. And that's like the quintessential music genre of cyberpunk. Because if you look at all those 90s cyberpunk movies, they all have like jungle playing and drum and bass going.
Yeah, like that's what you hack to.
Like, yeah, exactly. Everybody knows you hack to drum and bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
there's numbers flying on the screen.
yeah, exactly. And you know, the computer's projecting an image on you.
Yeah.
But so that felt like it fit. So I went with that. And
Cool.
I just made each song, and a lot of the times I would start the song being like, what does this feel like it's going to be about after I got a little ways into it? And then I would introduce like some Easter eggs or details from the book into the song. There's a lot of like little stuff even in like the waveforms, there's some Easter eggs.
Well, I think we should kick it off with Miss Linda Lee, and then I want to hear more about these like Easter eggs.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Let's play this one. Week 21, Miss Linda Lee. I'm not sure exactly what track this is on the album, but we'll maybe say that.
3.
Track 3. All right.
Welcome to Wizard's Castle.
All right, that was Miss Linda Lee from the Neuromancer album in or year 2024. So let's hear about it.
So that character is, in my opinion, the most tragic character in all of Neuromancer. Even though there are characters that are on screen, as it were, longer. But she's the girlfriend of the main character, Case, at the start of the book, and she kind of backstabs him, and she ends up meeting an untimely end from another character in the book and also on the album. But she's kind of like a lost soul in the streets of Night City, and she's addicted to a lot of drugs, like Cases, and they kind of have a tumultuous relationship. But that sample you hear, "Welcome to Wizard's Castle," I wanted to incorporate the two, since I figured I was doing a chiptune inspired jungle album about Neuromancer. I wanted to incorporate the video game elements in Neuromancer, and there are two video games that appear in arcades in the book, and that's Tank War Europa, which is kind of like a tank war simulator with nuclear weapons that Case plays in the early part of the book, or he hears someone playing it. So I have that in his song, and in her song, she played a game called Wizard's Castle, which I'm assuming is some kind of RPG, like Gauntlet style game, kind of arcade game. So I wanted to incorporate just like a slight nod to that as part of the book. At the end of the song, you hear her getting shot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The next character who appears or the henchman of the next character who appears on the album, which is Julius Dean. And
any other Easter eggs in this one?
I mean, I guess I wanted to make it high energy because I knew she was on a lot of like drugs.
She's tweaking.
Yeah, basically. So I wanted it to be kind of happy, because to kind of like make it feel like it was something that could have been that was crashing. I don't want to get too much into spoilers of the book here, but
yeah.
There's this is the third song on the album. It comes right after the two main characters, which are Case and Molly Millions. And Molly's song also has some kind of like emotion and hope in it, even though her character, that I wanted to show there was more to the behind the mirror shades than meets the eye for these characters, and also wanted to start the album out on a very high energy kick. So the first song, Case's song, is very demo scene-y and like computery and like chiptune influenced, and then you get Molly and Miss Linda Lee's song, which are kind of happy almost, and like, or maybe with a little bit of melancholy. And then I get into more of the seedier characters of the book, like the Wheelers and Dealers, and
that brings us to the next one, Armitage.
Yeah, so this is a very tragic character in the book too.
And this is the one that I was talking about, like has some like very like chaotic moments that I want to talk about when we come back, where, just giving you a heads up before you listen, there's like transitions, I guess you would call them, between certain sections that like they almost don't fit together. And then you're in like a new transition. Oh no, it works, and it's awesome. All right, here we go. All right, that was Armitage, and the stuff, I guess, as you mentioned when we were listening to it, that we chop out of this. The part that I was talking about is almost like kind of like an alarm sound that comes in. That's like kind of jarring at first, and it's almost like doesn't work, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is meant to be. It's part of the song.
Thanks. So this character is the guy who is seemingly at the beginning of the book in charge of the caper that the main character gets hired to be a part of. And he's a mysterious man with a dark past at the beginning of the book. And then you later find out who he was in a previous life. Not a previous like reincarnation life, but like before he became Armitage, he was General Willis Corto, who was a military guy that took part in this like glider raid on Russia, and his glider went down, and I guess he was taken prisoner, or eventually he was he recuperated in a military hospital where one of the AI characters in the book secretly infiltrated to kind of possess, like to kind of brainwash him through the computer he interacted with, and like guide his rehabilitation so he could do the AI's bidding. And that's what you hear. That's what you hear there's a lot of Easter eggs and like little details from the book in this song. For example, you hear that like military alarm, that like kind of klaxon sound in the early part of the track. Then it starts saying, "What is reality?" over and over. That's supposed to be the voice of Wintermute, the AI kind of talking to him when he's in the hospital recovering. And then later you hear his glider going down over Russia. Even though it sounds more like a prop plane, I'm taking a little poetic license there. It's kind of hard to make the sound of a glider.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like a prop plane going down, but it keeps repeating over and over again because the character, it's implied that he's got like a kind of like post-traumatic stress disorder, and that causes him to create this entirely alternate identity of Armitage, and it later ends up crumbling in the book. But I won't get into too many spoilers. But
Man, does this book mention ChatGPT or Sora too? Because I feel
you're gonna put all those people who are like having like psychosis from AI interactions because it
oh
blows
my
smoke
god,
up
yeah.
your ass.
And the video stuff, just like recently, I swear that's like you can't watch anything anymore because none of it's real.
Yeah, I know, it's very scary.
Yeah, but I mean,
Sim
God, this
predicted
guy
it.
is insane that he's written all this stuff that's like kind of happening
Yeah,
now. Some
yeah.
of it.
He predicted AI generated music, which the next song, Malcolm, is. It's actually interesting that we're coming to that next, and that you brought this up right now because in the book they go to a place called Zion Cluster, which is a Rastafarian enclave in space, and it's like a haven for the people who are in the caper in the book, and they go there, and the elders there describe how Wintermute, that AI I mentioned, played them a righteous dub, and so there's this music playing during the time they're in Zion Cluster, and it's referred to as the Zion Dub. It's one of the few times they actually mention music in the book, and I had to include that. So this isn't straight like dub music. I didn't feel like qualified making that, so I kind of mixed it with a little bit of like lo-fi hip hop and just tried to like make a kind of like idea of what a future artificially intelligent created dub would
Yeah,
be like. And so I used a lot of bass and a little bit of a reggae pluck in a chiptune manner, and to kind of like simulate the uptick on like a reggae guitar. And I added some. I added Case's instrument, which is the pulse width modulated lead that plays at several points throughout the album. And because the character Malcolm is he lives in Zion Cluster and he helps them in their caper, and he ends up piloting a tug in space, and Case, the main character of the book, the hacker, ends up deploying a virus into cyberspace in the middle while he's in the tug, and so there's the sound of that virus slowly unfolding in the matrix
ah,
in the song, and that's represented by the lazy notes of his pulse width modulated lead, and yeah, I just tried to recreate what I thought the Zion dub might sound like, that righteous dub played by the AI
yeah.
elders of Zion.
And this is I really like this one. I almost said it was my favorite, but it's hard to pick favorites. But it's in my top 3 from this album. Let's listen to it. Malcolm. all right, that was Malcolm. Chill. The bass just really hits, and there's just some just got a groove to it. Maybe I am into AI space music.
Yeah. So that song, I spoke a lot about it before we listened to it, but that song is like I said, is one of the few times in the book that they actually mention the type of music being played, and it's mentioned in the book. I don't know. I should have bookmarked where he mentions it, but I think if I'm remembering correctly, he says it's like an amalgamation of different types of music. So it's not like a straight dub. I don't even know if dub music existed in the form we know of it now at the time.
Yeah, that is
So it's
interesting to
like,
think about.
yeah, but so I didn't want to make a straight dub song. I just wanted to like combine a bunch of different styles and kind of create what I felt would be like if this AI had created this dub music to like this like mishmash of styles to win over the favor of the Zion elders before they learned his true identity. And I tried to make a pot leaf in the waveforms, but it ended up looking like a maple leaf. Uh, if you look
Those
at
damn Canadians.
no. Well, William Gibson is from Canada, so he lives in Canada. He was born in the United States but moved to Canada, so I guess that works out. I tried to put a pot leaf in there, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't there's no like really articulated way to make something bend under something in the M8 waveforms. It looks
That's
more
great.
like an M, like a maple leaf shifted to an M. So maybe it's M for Malcolm or something.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. That works. That'll do.
Uh, and was this one of those that uh, you kind of picked the character after you got the song going, or you
No,
wrote?
this was the last song I made, so there
Okay,
was only one character left at that point, and it was the one I had kind of put off while I was making the album because I didn't know.
because you knew you needed to make this like dub.
Yeah, I needed to make it special, and I needed to stand apart from the rest of the songs on the album because not only is it the only instance of music really being mentioned in like great description
Right?
in
Yeah.
the book, but it's also the only song on the album that's not part of a drum and bass or jungle song. Um, the other exception being the Wintermute song, which is straight ambient, but that's part of a triptych of songs and ends up replaying later. I'll explain that when we get to that song. But, uh,
Which song was that?
that was the Wintermute song. It's just
Oh, I don't have that on my
no,
my
but
list to play.
so maybe I should talk about this now then.
Because the last one I've got is the
Emer-
Emergence Rats mix.
yeah, so that song is the third of a triptych of songs.
Oh, okay, got it. I understand.
So yeah, Rats is the main character that is featured on this song. He's the bartender at the beginning of the book, and he also makes an appearance at the end of the book. I needed to include him, even though he might not be as main of a character as some of the other characters in the book, in the album, on the album. But this song is actually not about him. He's just I always pictured him as kind of like the DJ of the song because he's got a prosthetic like a pink prosthetic military arm in the book, and like kind of like Johnny Silverhands had a fake arm, and although that came decades later and is highly derivative, but this song is the third of like a trio of songs, which is the first 11 songs on the album are the human characters, and then the two AI characters show up at the end of the album, and that's Wintermute and Neuromancer. And I don't want to. This is kind of a spoiler, but I'm not going to say it in a way that spoils very much. The two AIs merge in the book. So what I did with the last three songs is I have Wintermute play first, and it's all ambient and synthetic. And then I have Neuromancer play right after that. It kind of bleeds from one song right into the other, and that one's all drum samples with a little bit of bass. And then both songs are actually in the same project file on M8, and they play over each other Wintermute is the first 4 channels, and Neuromancer is the second 4 channels, and then all 8 channels play simultaneously for the last song. So that's like the AIs merging in the book.
Oh, okay. That is really cool. I did not notice that when listening to them.
Yeah. So what I did was I also added Case's instrument from the other parts of the album into the last song to give it a kind of like an extra quality, like a guiding melody that is not found in in the sum of its parts, and that's why it's called Emergence, because I don't
Got
want to
it.
give away too much of the book. I don't
I
want to,
mean, I feel like I've read it already. You've given away so much.
but
I'm just kidding.
yeah, but it's a crucial plot point in the book. What happens, and I tried to
Okay.
mirror that in
And I
the
do want to read
last 3
this.
songs. Yeah. It's not too long of a book. It's about 280 pages. It's just like a regular length novel, and
When
it's
I
got
was
moving parts, but it's a great read. And
when I was researching, some people said that, oh, the terminology is kind of hard to get past. But I feel like I read Dune, and there's all sorts of just weird terms in Dune, and I made it through.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
Gibson. A lot of his writing, he'll throw you into a world without a handhold to hold you.
got it.
You have to kind of like climb your way to a point of understanding. He does that probably most notably in The Peripheral, which is his one of his more recent books. That he just throws you right into the futures in that book, and you have to kind of like you have to figure out for yourself what's going on. I know Herbert does that in Dune, but like it's worth it. It's definitely worth trying to figure it out, and um, it's just the terminology. Like he invents an entire like language in the book,
Mhm.
not like an actual language like Elvish and Tolkien, but like he invents like a kind of like futuristic technical vibe that would only be experienced by like hackers in a 3 dimensional
Yeah,
internet. And so people at the time didn't know what to think of that because they had no frame of reference. But nowadays we know this is a
yeah,
retro future, so we're a little better prepared to take that plunge, as
that's cool.
you know. But
All
yeah,
right. Well, we are at the end of our episode. It's super cool to dig deeper into your process and listen to your music and hear about your love for the Neuromancer album. And I'm still just blown away that you made all of these songs in 10 days. And I can understand why you didn't want to participate in all of 2024 because I feel like I would just be wiped out.
I kind of burned myself out making this. I didn't make another song till recently, after about a year of not making music. So
Yeah, yeah.
I burnt my brain out as far as music was concerned working on this. But it was definitely worth it. I'm super proud of it. So
But
and thank
you're back in the game making music?
yeah. I made a track for that Jungle Compo, and
Yeah, yeah, I need to check that one
I'm
out.
gonna try to do Weekly Beats 2026 too.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
And I know you haven't listened a ton to the show, but some stuff that's been coming up recently is the idea that it's okay to skip a week here and there if you need to for the term that was coined in the last episode was making healthy bangers. So
Yeah.
like and I've been practicing this with this show and taking a break every now and then when life demands it. So I hope to hear more of your creations in 2026.
Likewise.
Yeah. And thanks again for giving us a tour of all of your tips and tricks. I feel like we could talk another hour about M8 tips and tricks. And
Yeah. Thank you
but
so much for having me on. It was a blast.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, everyone go check out Disposable Planet, check out the album. I think it's even even better to hear all these stories and then go listen to the full album now that we know all the context, because I'm going to go back and listen to it now knowing all of this.
Yeah, if just a note to the people who want to listen to the album, it's called "The Color of Television," which comes from the first line in Neuromancer. And if the best way to listen to it would be to go to my Bandcamp page where it's free. It's a completely free album. And the download comes with all the M8 bundles as well
Oh,
as
awesome.
an instrument pack of like 400 instrument patches.
Hell yeah.
You get a lot of M8 goodies, including an old school FAQ written in the M8 Tracker font. So yeah, you get all the goodies that way, and you can listen to uncompressed versions of it.
Awesome. I'm totally going to check that out. And that's one thing that I love about the M8 is being able to share bundle files,
So yeah,
and
it's
see how people put stuff together. Awesome. Well, yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again, everyone, for continuing to listen and interact on the Discord and listen to everyone's music and comment on it. It's always good to get a comment in 2025 on a song from 2024. So go out there and support all of your other Weekly Beat community people. Cool. Well, have a good one.
Thank you. You too. never saw Molly again.